Hey guys, before we get started, I just want to say I'm sorry for cutting the last video early. I was in a bit of a hurry, but let's go ahead and just start this video, which is a Senate prediction, which complements the electoral map I also uploaded, which is going to be looking at the Senate race. Republicans have a fundamental edge on this map, but we're going to go ahead and see whether they really can get the job done. And Democrats really got to lock in. So, if they really want to win the Senate. So, starting up in Washington, Maria Cantwell is the incumbent who is completing her 4th term and running for a 5th, which she should have no problem winning against Raul Garcia. Now over in California, Dianne Feinstein passed away before finishing her 5th full term, and LaFonza Butler was appointed by Gavin Newsom to replace her. After that, she ended up not running for re-election because Feinstein had announced that she would not be running in 2024 prior to her death, and as a result, many people had already entered the race, including Congressman Adam Schiff, who again should have no problem winning against Steve Garvey, a former LA Dodger. Now over in Hawaii, incumbent Mazie Hirono should have no problem winning either. Over in New Mexico, the late Pete Domenici, I think. Yeah, Domenici was the last Republican to hold the seat, and his daughter is trying to break that streak. However, I think it's going to remain with incumbent Martin Heinrich. Going over to the East Coast, we've got Biden's home state of Delaware. In Delaware, we've got incumbent Tom Carper retiring, and Delaware's sole U.S. Representative, Lisa Rochester, will be running to replace him and should have no problem winning in Biden's home state, where he served as a Class 2, I think. Yeah, Class 2 senator himself prior to becoming VP in 2009. Speaking of Biden, let's go ahead and take a look at Massachusetts and Vermont, where his two 2020 primary competitors, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, are running for re-election. Sanders has since left the Democratic Party and caucuses with them despite being registered as an independent. They are both going to win re-election, as is Angus King, another independent senator that caucuses with Democrats up in Maine. In Rhode Island, in Connecticut, incumbents Sheldon Whitehouse and Chris Murphy should have no problem winning re-election, and neither should incumbent Kirsten Gillibrand, who was first appointed when Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State in 2008 or 9, I don't remember. But she should have no problem winning re-election. That lifts Democrats up to 39 total seats. Now over for Republican safeholders, North Dakota's Kevin Cramer and Missouri's Josh Hawley should have no problem winning re-election after both unseating incumbents in 2018. Neither should Pete Ricketts, the former governor of Nebraska, who days after leaving office was appointed to replace Ben Sasse, who himself resigned to become president of the University of Florida, and he should have no problem winning re-election this November either. Now, let's go ahead and look at the state of Mississippi and Tennessee, where incumbents Roger Wicker and Marsha Blackburn should have no problem winning re-election either. In West Virginia, however, that's a different story. Joe Manchin, the incumbent senator, first ran in the 2010 special election to replace Robert Byrd, who was the longest-serving senator in U.S. history when he passed away. And after that, his lieutenant Earl Tomblin was elected, and that he served for a couple years before being replaced by Democrat Jim Justice. Justice eventually converted to the Republican Party and entered the race expecting to unseat Manchin. However, Manchin announced his retirement and leave from the Democratic Party, which should be a pretty easy pickup for Justice and the Republican Party. Now over in Indiana, it's an opposite story where incumbent Mike Braun is running to become governor instead, and U.S. Representative Jim Banks should have no problem winning the election to succeed him either. Now let's go ahead and move on. We forgot Wyoming and Utah, where Mitt Romney is retiring. Not that he would have won the primaries anyway due to his continuous opposition of Donald Trump. So John Curtis will succeed him over there. That lifts Republicans up to 47, just 3 shy without the VP tiebreaker, and 4 shy with the VP tiebreaker. Now let's go ahead and look at just 4 shy without and 3 with the VP tiebreaker, sorry. Brain kinda isn't working. Now let's move on to the likely holds. For the Democrats, we've got Minnesota, which is actually safe because Amy Klobuchar is an electoral powerhouse that has won every race by safe margins, which, by the way, if you don't know, is 15 safe, 5 to 15 likely, 1 to 5 lean, and below that is tilt. So Amy Klobuchar will be safe. Expected to outrun Harris and her Governor Walz by a few percentage points on the ticket. Over in Virginia, Tim Kaine, if you remember him as Hillary Clinton's running mate back in the 2016 election, should have no problem winning re-election either. In New Jersey, Bob Menendez resigned earlier this year after being found guilty of corruption. His appointed successor will not be running for re-election, and instead, Congressman Andy Kim should have it'll be a bit narrower because of the controversy, but it's probably going to be likely. Finally, over in Maryland. Maryland is where Larry Hogan, the former governor, is running, and it's a special case in this state, which was Biden's second best state performance in the entire country. Harris will probably win Maryland by around 30 percentage points, and this latest surveys have Angela Alsobrooks up by around 12 percentage points. Angela Alsobrooks is running to succeed Ben Cardin, who is retiring. Maryland will be also placed in the likely category. Still, despite this, Hogan, who does not endorse Donald Trump, running about 20 percentage points ahead of Trump, is pretty impressive in this environment, which is, I'll say, polarized. Now let's go ahead and move on to Republicans' likely holdings, which are in Nebraska's regular election. Now, the special case here in Nebraska's regular election is the fact that independent Dan Osborne, who would caucus with Democrats if he got elected, is currently polling ahead. You can see a lot of surveys. Let's go ahead and look at these. Siena College shows Osborne up by a single percentage point, but a lot of these surveys that are sponsored by Dan Osborne's campaign show him up, so that's a bit creepy, sketchy per se. So I'll go ahead and place it in the likely column. While unpopular Senator Fisher is unlikely to get put out of office, it's certainly going to be harder than Pete Ricketts, who will likely win it by more than 15 percentage points. And Trump is also expected to carry Nebraska by 17 to 18 percentage points this November. Now moving on down to the state, and that is their sole holding. Now we're on to, I forgot about Florida. Florida is where former Governor Rick Scott first unseated incumbent Bill Nelson. Florida has since shifted pretty hard to the right, and as you can see, Marco Rubio and Ron DeSantis were both reelected in landslides in 2022. DeSantis almost 20 percentage points, and Rubio by 16 percentage points. So I'll go ahead and look at the polling data for Florida first. Florida. I don't think there is anything for Florida. Well, his opponent is Debbie Mucarsel-Powell this cycle, and I see Scott winning by around 5 to 6, maybe 7 percentage points. So I'll place it down in the likely column. Maybe on the border of lean, but not. Now we move on to the competitive and semi-competitive races, starting with my home state of Arizona, where Congressman Ruben Gallego is trying to succeed outgoing independent Kyrsten Sinema, who left the Democratic Party. Had she chosen to stay in the race, it would have been almost guaranteed victory for Kari Lake. However, she did not, and thus Kari Lake, who is the 2022 nominee for governor, and almost won the election with a raw vote margin of just over 17,000 votes. She was so close to winning the governorship, but she didn't. So now she's running for Senate instead, and she's been struggling. She's been struggling so much. If you want to go ahead and go all the way back, since being confirmed as the Republican and Democratic nominees, I don't think Lake has led in a single survey. So, yeah, that I guess sucks for Lake, even though Trump is a little bit ahead. It wouldn't surprise me at all, because a lot of Democrats are not voting for Harris in my home state where I live. I know some Democrats that are not voting for Harris, but will continue to vote for Gallego. And also, just, you can say people who are voting just straight men on the ticket. Those are the two reasons why Gallego is polling ahead. I'll go ahead and place it on, much like Florida, likely, but on the border of lean. Now going up to Nevada, Jackie Rosen for unseated Dean Heller, the incumbent. And while Trump is barely leading in Nevada right now, I think that Rosen will win by around 4 to 5 percentage points. Let's go ahead and see what Decision Desk's model has to say. Nine percentage points. I'll go ahead and place it in the likely but on the border of lean column for Jackie Rosen. Now moving on down south to Texas, Ted Cruz, you either love him or you hate him. He's not exactly a well-loved senator amongst some, but not exactly the worst senator either. Let's go ahead and take a look at Texas, where, as you can see, Cruz is leading by around 4 percentage points. I do think that he will run a bit behind Donald Trump this November, but not by too much. I'll go ahead and say 1,180. I'll go ahead and place it in the lean column for Ted Cruz. Oh, wait, no. Whoops. No, I don't think Colin Allred's going to win. Yep. And now we go on up to Pennsylvania, which is the ultimate battleground on the presidential level, but on the Senate level, it's not quite the ultimate battleground. It doesn't carry such a heavy weight, I can say. Bob Casey Jr., the incumbent, is up by 2.6 percentage points, and he is an electoral powerhouse who has not lost a single general race. He did lose a primary once. I don't remember what it was for. But either way, this electoral powerhouse is expected to win pretty likely by a good margin of around 1 to 2 percentage points. In the complementing electoral map for president, you can see Pennsylvania's in the toss-up column. So we don't really know who is going to win there, but what we do know is that Pennsylvania will go in the lean Democratic column for now. Now moving up north to Michigan, where incumbent Debbie Stabenow is retiring, and we've got some new faces running, Elissa Slotkin and Mike Rogers. Michigan is fundamentally the bluest of the swing states, and I think Elissa Slotkin will outrun Harris by a couple of percentage points this November, and as you can see, Slotkin is up by around 1 to 2 percentage points on a lot of surveys. I'll go ahead and place Michigan firmly in the lean column. Now going to Wisconsin, which is like a better site for Trump on the presidential level, but on the Senate level, I think incumbent Tammy Baldwin will have less of a problem getting reelected. About 4 percentage points. I'll go ahead and place Wisconsin in the lean on the border of tilt column. Now moving on to our two most competitive, arguably, battlegrounds at the Senate level, both firm Trump states. Montana is a safe Trump state where he will win by around 17 to 18 points this November. Incumbent Jon Tester, who is pretty popular in a polarized environment, is trying to be unseated by Tim Sheehy, and I think Tim Sheehy is succeeding at the mission. With that being said, Tim Sheehy has led so much in recent weeks that at this point, Democrats have almost thrown in the towel and started diverting more resources to Texas, and just to be able to get a chance. I'll go ahead and place Montana in the lean Republican column for now. 760 adults. Why do they have it as 760 adults? I'll go ahead and place it in. Actually, I'll go ahead and place it in the likely, slightly on the border of lean column. I'll just place it firmly in likely for now. Now for Ohio, arguably the ultimate bellwether on the Senate level, which is the same weight it once carried on the presidential level. Sherrod Brown, the incumbent, is looking to be unseated by businessman Bernie Moreno, who owns car dealerships. I wouldn't be surprised if Brown went down, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wins either. One thing I did want to say is it could be like it was in 2018 in Arizona when John McCain's appointee, John Kill, resigned, and then Governor Ducey ended up appointing the loser of the election, Martha McSally, to take his place. And this is because, what am I saying? This is, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened if Vance got elected Veep. So I'll go ahead and place Ohio in the tilt Democratic column for now, but either way, Democrats are at a end's edge here. And I will briefly touch on the House race. Very briefly in this video. The House race is also quite competitive. I don't have time to fill out a map of 435 representatives. So we are, as you can currently see, the Republicans appear to hold a narrow 1-seat edge on this map, and I guess that could mean a trifecta if Trump wins in the toss-up, or if Harris wins, it could mean that it's going to be hard for her to get any of her policies passed. But either way, the final electoral map is 51 Republican seats to 49 Democrat seats. And yeah, that is this version of the map. Bye, guys.